I'd like to call the Clarkston Independence District Library Board of Trustees meeting to order at 6:04. Let's rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Oops. Oh, Julie, please call the roll.
Jan Gaffney. Here. Michelle Ginn.
Here.
Dan Green.
Here.
Mary Himberg.
Here.
Allison McFadden-Kiesling.
Here.
Marilyn Pomeroy.
Here.
Kay Robertson absent. Julie Meredith here.
Okay. I'll accept a motion to approve the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as presented. Any question or discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Call to the public. We have no public tonight, so we will move to the consent agenda. We have 3 items on the consent agenda: approval of minutes and 2 check runs. Does anyone want to remove any item for individual discussion? If not, I'll accept a motion.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Library Director's Report.
Okay, you have your reports in front of you. Under general information, with the changing temperatures, we've been struggling with potholes in the parking lot, as has everyone else in the cold white north that we live in. We've had our snowplow contractor use a combination of sand and pea gravel to temporarily fill the ruts until more permanent repairs can be undertaken in the spring. In the meantime, we're pricing out those repairs. So we're doing the best we can. Staffing, we have 2 part-time employees that got full-time jobs elsewhere, so we have some holes in our schedule. We're thrilled for Kathleen Kozlowski, a librarian, and Mike Espejo, a circulation clerk, but we're sad to see them go. Lawrence is in the process of interviewing part-time librarians, and Bill has filled the circulation schedule with others who would like to pick up more hours, but he will probably actually need to consider additional help before we get into the busy summer season. Just wanted to let people know about that. Collaborations and projects. The library was closed the morning of Friday, January 31st for staff training. Karen Austin, our Geek the Library field manager, came up from Columbus, Ohio, free of charge to expand our training in customer service, PR, and educating the public about the importance of the services we provide to the community. This was very, very valuable training, and I believe the staff was really empowered to make even more positive changes in library service in the months ahead. So thank you very much for allowing us to do that. From April 7th to the 12th, the library will be celebrating Geek the Library Week. This will include a variety of activities throughout the week, such as story times, a family craft program, a Hobbit movie marathon, and a 60th anniversary tea with the Women's Club. And we do have more information available on our website at www.indelib.org. Due to the way spring break and the Easter holidays fall this year, the Friends would like me to remind everyone that the spring book sale is a little later than usual. It will be Wednesday, April 30th through Saturday, May 3rd, with the Friends member preview night taking place on Tuesday, April 29th from 6 to 8 p.m. The library is part of the 29th Annual Clarkston Community Awards Breakfast Planning Committee. This event honors organizations and individuals that make Clarkston a great community. Categories include Citizen of the Year, Youth of the Year, Business Person of the Year, Adult Youth Volunteer, Community Beautification, Community Enhancement, and Community Collaboration. This year, the breakfast will take place on Tuesday, May 13th at 7:30 a.m. Nominations for the award are due on March 14th, and the forms are available online and in the library.
Will they be holding that at the same
It's
location?
at the Clarkston Community
Okay.
Church. It is. It's really it's a fun, just a feel-good kind of event. So I think we have some individuals that we would like to nominate for awards as well. And the Friends of the Library have purchased a table so that the library can be a presence there and can observe the awards. So The Friends of the Library are hosting the second annual chocolate celebration, which is a social gathering for the community to enjoy. Whether you love to cook with chocolate or simply eat chocolate, this is the event for you. Enter the contest and show off your chocolate culinary skills by creating 50 bite-sized morsels to share, or as a judge, taste these fantastic foods and vote for your favorite delicacy. The creations with the most votes will win prizes. All are welcome to enter the contest and attend the tasting. Please bring a friend and share your love of our library. Those wishing to enter the contest must register in advance. Entry forms will be available in April. Please mark your calendars for Tuesday, May 20th, from 7 to 8:30 p.m., so you don't miss this fun event.
Okay, thank
And
you.
that's my report.
Any questions or comments about the report? Okay, if not, let's move on to regular business. And the first item is a review of the January 2014 budget report.
So in your packet, you do have a budget report. It's not a complete report because our accountant has been prepping for our audit, which the field work on our audit will start tomorrow. And so the missing piece in this report is she has not uploaded all of the wages from January. So if you look on that, on the page that,
There's a blank there.
there's a blank there, oh dear, did I miss it?
No, maybe not.
But
I
this
see.
page. You'll notice up at the top where it says wages that that data has not yet been uploaded.
I assumed that there were some somewhere.
But I did want to let everybody know kind of where we're standing, and we just had the 2 check runs in January, so so far so good. But I wanted to put it out there in case you had any questions about any of the expenditures that had taken place so far. So in the column under 2014, that's the budget as you've approved it. Expenditures January 1 to January 31. Those are the items where expenses have taken place. And then budget remaining, all I did was put in the numbers where expenditures had been made. So we haven't expended money in too many of our line items as of yet, but.
I was looking at health insurance, line 716.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the budget is 73,882,
Yep.
and we have expended 9,000 so
Oh,
far?
how did it do that? That number doesn't look right.
No.
I will check my
The-
spreadsheet.
The budget remaining doesn't look quite.
You're right, that does not.
I'd like
that
to
is
have
not
it be that
correct.
much, but I don't think we're,
Let me check and see what happened. I'm
Okay.
sorry, I put it into an Excel spreadsheet and there's probably something wrong with the formula, so I apologize.
I don't see any other.
Julie, down at line item 910,
Mhm.
is that our liability insurance or
That's-
building?
It's the building insurance. So it would include the liability insurance and the bonds on all of the board
Has to do
members.
twice a year.
And it's,
Pay
well,
it twice a year.
it's a very strange bill. Actually, it's in 3 parts. You pay one part up front and then 2 smaller parts after that, and it's all due by like April. So it'll be down, and that's the one as we get to, say, June, you're gonna look at it and it's going to look, there's gonna be 0 in there, and when the accountant starts to go over those lines with you, you're going to say, oh my gosh, there isn't any money left, but then there also aren't any expenditures left either,
Okay, the
so.
bill is paid.
Yes,
Okay.
and this one is weird because it's in 3 and they're not equal amounts. It's 1 bigger payment and 2 smaller payments.
Okay.
Thanks. And 931, building and grounds,
Mhm.
is that mostly snow removal
Well, it's
Little
snow
patchy?
removal, and then in January, we did have a 1 repair to
Oh.
the big HVAC 3. You'll
and then
remember.
some of the
Right.
potholes?
We blew, yep, and potholes are included in that.
Oh, okay.
The repairs aren't nearly as expensive as if we had actual repairs done. We've
Right.
done the filling in, which
Right.
the sand and the pea gravel is far less expensive. So, yeah, I am a little worried about that line item this year, but we're just gonna have to wait and see how
I
it
think
goes.
everybody is.
Everybody is, indeed. I'm hoping
However-
nothing else breaks.
I've been having a sigh of relief that the roof was fixed before the snows, because
Mhm.
we had quite an accumulation.
Yes.
And if it's up there on that flat roof, I was a little concerned about whether we were going to have a
Never
lake up
understood
there
that.
or,
The snow is quite deep up on the roof, and but it is draining, and I've been going up every couple days just to check and make sure everything's going okay. We would have had snow in the building had we had the roof that we had last year.
Yeah.
We definitely would have, because there were sections that the plywood had rotted, and I'm sure it would have come in. So it's very heavy up there.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Anything else you want to point out, or does anyone have a question about revenue?
It's a little early for too much to be real exciting other than snow removal.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Are there any questions about number 1? If not, let's move to updating regarding our bank accounts and our millage funds.
So Jan and I did meet to discuss bank accounts, and what we have determined is that we have one bank account that is based at a bank in Highland Township, which is rather far and sort of inconvenient. So we are going to research local banks and see about opening some accounts there and then closing that account out. And we'll go ahead and close that account out. We do have an account at Flagstar that we can move that money into for the time being, just to get that part taken care of. And at your March meeting, you will see the recommendations that we have in terms of bank accounts that we feel that we should open. So Jan and I met about that, and we discussed what the recommendations of the accountant were. And then we also talked about some details about just a review of the policies about how to go back over the checks, the check runs and that kind of thing, what the procedures are going to be to make sure she's getting adequate notification about the check detail report and before signatures are done and that kind of thing. So I think we're feeling pretty confident about that. So that's pretty good. We did have some email conversations, both with the township supervisor and the township treasurer, regarding our 2014 millage funds. On Thursday or Friday, we received an email saying that those funds should be in our account today. I checked at 2 p.m. today, they were not there, and then I checked right before the meeting and they are not there, so I'm hoping they'll be there tomorrow. It is something we're supposed to do at the beginning of February, and it has not been done yet, so a little concerned, but...
Seems to be a little bit of lag in the treasurer's office.
Yes, so the township is collecting the millage and then they will transfer it to us. And we will follow up on this.
Yes, well, the taxpayers paid it on their winter tax bill. The library has always been on the winter tax bill, so people are paying it from December until about February, and then that money gets turned over early in February. So we emailed 2 weeks ago and then again last week and said, you know, how shall we arrange to have this taken care of? So I have not yet received those funds, but he did email and say he was going to take care of it. So I'm going to assume that we should see it by tomorrow, but if not, I will contact him again and ask what the deal is. So.
Okay. Any question or comment on number 2? All right. Let's move to number 3, staffing.
Staffing is never dull here. As you know, our head of Children's and Teen Services is out on maternity leave. She and the baby are doing well. She came in to see me the other day, and she is contemplating the possibility of going part-time. So we're kind of negotiating, you know, what kind of hours we have available and whether or not she would be interested in doing that. And what I would like to discuss with the board is the details of the way the policy works is that 1 month prior to return to work, she needs to let us know that she's returning to work in writing and the capacity in which she feels she would be returning. It's our assumption she's going to come back full-time unless she tells us otherwise. Her return to work date would be April 7th, and then 30 days before that would be March 7th. So she has to let me know in writing by March 7th what her intentions are. The board doesn't meet again until March 24th. If she were to determine that she was going to come back part-time, I'm requesting permission to post as soon as I know, instead of waiting those weeks, because we are going into summer reading program in June, which is our busiest time of the year, and to not have that position as full-time would be a challenge at the very, very least, and probably very stressful for everyone. So that's, if you have questions about it, this is essentially, I've proposed a posting in your packet. It will look very similar to some of you as our head of adult services posting. The jobs are very similar except for obviously the
Focus.
population that they serve. Yeah, the requirements are basically the same. The pay scale is, the pay range is basically the same. The benefits are basically the same. So, I don't know if anyone has any questions about that.
Now, should she come back part-time, would we have 2 part-time? Would they share a position?
Well, what we've done in terms of budgeting is we thought this might happen, so we were trying to kind of work around how we would make this work. Essentially, what we would do if she comes back part-time, Lawrence is in the process of trying to hire a part-time librarian. So if this is interesting to her, then we would fill that position with her as a part-timer, and we did budget to have a full-time head of children's services
For full-time.
for the year. Yep. So we are budgeted in order to cover both. But she would need-
And you could use another part-time. You need another.
Well, that's in my report, that's what I
Right.
was talking about, is that we
Right.
did need the part-time. So before he hires somebody, we're hoping to have her make a
To have her-
decision.
her-
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
This would be a permanent part-time position, as
Um,
opposed to sub-part-time.
We don't really have a differentiation here. That's something that other libraries do. We have part-time.
Okay, okay.
We don't, some libraries have what they would call set hours part-time,
Right.
and some have, what we use is a retail model of scheduling. We schedule you when we need you.
Great.
Now, we do try, to the best of our ability, to give people regular schedules. And he is losing a part-timer who was working a fairly significant number of hours. And he had some specific holes in the schedule that he was worried about. So the two of them are negotiating whether or not she would be available to fill those holes, because the other piece is, we don't want to put her in a position if she's not going to be able to cover the holes that we have. So,
So if she can come back as a part-timer as part of the contract, must we find a spot for her?
well, what her decision would be is, she is requesting that we would allow her to come back part-time.
Okay.
And so we're trying to negotiate, I'm negotiating out with Lawrence about whether or not that would work out. If it doesn't work out, then she will come back to the position she had, which we've been holding for her. So,
Okay.
does that make sense?
So
Explain
we're
that very clearly.
prepared either way.
We tried to, when we were writing the budget for 2014, I tried to lay it out
Yes.
for every possible contingency. And this is kind of the contingency I was anticipating. I'm not sure that she was, but there were several moms and grandmas on the board who suggested that maybe this was a contingency we should be prepared for, and obviously that's how it's coming to pass, is that.
This is her first baby.
Right.
So.
You don't know until you're there.
Exactly. And so, and then I hadn't heard anything, and I was a little bit concerned. So on the recommendation of a couple of board members that I had spoken to, I did call the attorney and say, how do I approach this to make sure that everybody understands the rules? Because quite honestly, we've had several disabilities, but I can't rember the last time we've had a maternity leave. Everybody gets here and they already have the kids they're going to have. So we've not had this situation before, and we wanted to handle it appropriately and professionally and correctly. So I did contact the attorney, and he dictated the letter to me so I would know exactly how to word it. And so then that sort of spurred her to come in and talk to me and find out what the options were and that kind of thing. So I think I don't think we're in any kind of a contentious situation, and I think that we can kind of make it work out so that everybody will be
Happy.
pleased. Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right. In that case, I will accept a motion.
I move to approve the posting for a head of children's and teen services librarian, should the position be vacated.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any other discussion? Questions? Not? All those in favor of this posting, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The motion is passed. And feel free to address
Thank
that
you.
as soon as the 7th has occurred.
Well, I will contact you by email so you'll know if it happens. I'll be sure to keep you posted on that, but I didn't want to wait till the next meeting for it, so.
All right, now, let's have a discussion of the ballot language.
Okay, so in your packet, I just want to make this perfectly clear so everybody understands what you're looking at. This is 2012. This is the facts from 2012. This is the ballot language from 2012. And then the last little piece is a list of options given to us from the attorney specifically in regards to the Corridor Improvement Authority and what legally it must say. Okay, so just to clarify, the district library agreement dictates the millage rate at 1.25. And the situation, the facts to know situationally are very, very similar. Obviously, when it comes to calculating that exact number in the ballot language of how much it would collect in that first year, I'll need to get with the assessor and get that number updated. But pretty much it's the same as last time. So there had been some concerns in terms of the ballot language in regards to wording it to make sure everybody understood. So I think for the sake of the public, let's just go over the facts to know. I'll just go over the whole thing. The Independence Township Library was established in 1965 under Public Act 269. In 1976, PA 269 was repealed. All PA 269 libraries were grandfathered in to allow time to decide when and how to reestablish under the current and valid law. The Charter Township of Independence and the City of the Village of Clarkston worked together to reestablish the Independence Township Library as the Clarkston Independence District Library, an independent entity governed by a 7-member board with 5 members from the township and 2 members from the city. On August 1st, 2012, this agreement was formally recognized by the state of Michigan. As a brand new entity, the library needs to replace its old funding with funding in its new name. A public library millage question will appear on the ballot, and it will be Tuesday, August 5th, 2014, in Independence Township and the City of the Village of Clarkston. And just to clarify so everybody understands, it's a district-wide vote. So all of the various districts within the township and the City of the Village of Clarkston, those are all little independent districts. It's an all or nothing deal. The whole thing, it has to pass in both locations in order for it to pass. Just like a school election. This is a replacement millage. If this millage passes in the township, the current millage supporting the library will be eliminated.
Now, when does that occur?
December 31st of 2014.
Okay, because last time when the vote was in November,
Right.
the millage would have changed as of December 31st. This time, of course, the vote will be in August. The millage will still
Right, it's
change
still December 31st.
in December 31st.
And the thing that the public should understand about the way that library funding works, the money is collected for this budget, for the budget of 2014. The money was collected on the December 2013 tax bill to pay for library service in 2014. So this millage that we're currently running on will expire December 31st of 2014, which means on December 31st we run out of money. On January 1st of 2015, the money that will be collected December of 2014 is for that budget year. So if it passes in August, it will go on the December tax bill. It will replace what would have been on the tax bill, or what could have been on the tax bill, and that money will be used to pay for library service in 2015. Am I saying that clearly?
very clear. That's
Okay,
clear.
very good. Okay, in the city, it's a little bit different because they have been paying their library services out of the general fund. So the city council is passing a resolution to reduce the general fund millage, the amount currently being collected to fund library service, which is .691. So the city is being asked the same question as the township. Are you willing to pay 1.25 mils for library service? The point at which the millage passes, the city will reduce the general fund millage, and what they will see on their tax bill is a general fund millage that is .691 less, and separately it will say Clarkston Independence District Library millage 1.25. So they are being asked the exact same question as the township residents. So this is all even. There was a lot of question originally from the city, how is this going to work and were we going to be double billed? The city is assuring their residents that that is not a problem. And in 2012, they did actually pass the millage in that district. The city of the Village of Clarkston passed it by 65%. So they get it. We just need to remember that as we're educating them again, it's the same story. So. The amount of money generated by such a millage is estimated to be about $1.7 million. That's the one thing I'm going to have to go back and double check. The millage rate in question will be 1.25 mils, equal to $1.25 per $1,000 of taxable value of all taxable property in Independence Township in the city of the Village of Clarkston, which is an increase of 0.559 over the library's current funding.
So a little over $500,000.
Mm-hmm. Now, in 2012, the library board did set the millage to be an 8-year millage. That you could change. The district library agreement does not tell you how long it needs to be. We've been doing 4 years. Traditionally, libraries usually do 8 years or 10 years. For the sake of your library director, more than 4 years would be fabulous. Because these millages...
Some did it in perpetuity, but
Yeah,
I don't think we're going to ask for
yeah,
that.
that's not reasonable. In 2012, I don't know if the board remembers, but we did have a discussion about 8 versus 10, and we really felt like 10 just seemed like a really long time, and 8 seemed like a more reasonable amount of time. That would be my recommendation. Again, that would give us a little bit of time to kind of get our feet under us and really stabilize the library under this new funding before we have to do a renewal. So what will this cost the average homeowner? The average home has a market value of $200,000. Taxable value is approximately 50% of market value, or $100,000. So it's per $1,000 of taxable value, or in this case it would be 100. The math is pretty easy. So it's 100 times 1.25, or $125 per year. Which is an increase of about $56 per year, or approximately the cost of 2 hardcover books. This millage does constitute 95% of the library's operating budget. The remaining 5% of the library's budget comes from state aid, library fines and fees, penal fines, E-rate, and interest. And then the last piece, in an effort to spur growth and tax base, the Sashbaugh Road Corridor Improvement Authority receives a small portion of this millage, which is 0.6%, taken only from the 673 properties in that commercial district. So just to clarify, that means that Sashbaugh Road Corridor Improvement Authority are the commercial properties on Sashbaugh Road between Clarkston Road and Mabee Road. And that capture only takes that small portion of millage money from those properties. So to clarify to everyone, it wouldn't include the city at all because it's a township tax capture. And for example, I'll just use Maryland as an example, it would not be captured from Maryland's taxes, it wouldn't be captured from Allison's taxes, it wouldn't be copied from Jan. So just so that people understand, it's only those properties that are on Sashbaugh Road. To further reassure people in that particular situation, the capture for this year was approximately $5,000 out of our entire budget. So this is a very, very small amount of money. But it is troubling because when it shows up in the ballot language, people are confused.
And there's so much language.
And there's so much language. And if they don't like this particular situation, they want to vote no in order to eliminate it, but it's cutting off your nose to spite your face because you eliminate the library as well. And that's the part that people struggle with. There are some people who are very frustrated with that.
It just eliminates the library. It doesn't eliminate the tax capture.
It eliminates the tax capture from the library's millage, but it would still be captured from the fire millage, the police millage, and the safety path. Mm-hmm. Yep. So.
And everybody that has a millage is required to put it in their ballot language.
Mm-hmm.
That's something.
Yes. Starting in the year 2000, the law changed to state that if these captures had been in place since the 70s, but in 2000 the law changed so that if there was any kind of a capture attached to a dedicated millage, the point at which it is renewed, it must be in the ballot language so that the public is aware of it, which is very fair. I mean, it's important for the people to know. But in our situation, it's very difficult because people have called me on several occasions and said, I'm not going to vote for this millage until you eliminate this tax capture. We are not able to. It is completely out of our control. It's already there, it's attached, and it's on for 20 years. So it's there until 2020, I believe, I'm trying to count back to when they put it into place.
Are you sure it wasn't earlier than 2010?
Well, it was the year 2000 is when the law came into
Right,
place.
no, I'm talking about the tax capture.
This particular capture was put in place in 2006 after our millage renewed in August.
Right.
So the first time it showed up in our ballot language is in 2010.
Right.
The first time our people saw
But it's
it.
already been
yes.
in process
Yes.
since like 2006 or 7. So
Yep.
we're talking 2016
Mhm.
when it would disappear.
Well, I don't know if it disappears. All I know
Okay.
is that's how long it goes from this point. And I
Okay.
think it's up to the township to determine at that point. The difference between 2006 and now is that if a tax capture like this were to be discussed, previously, anything that would be attached to the library's millage, the determination was made by the township board because they were the governing body of the library. Now, the library board is the governing body of the library. So if the township were to determine that they wanted to create another capture like this, they would have to notify you, and you would have 60 days to determine whether or not you wanted to participate. Now, I don't want people to get the impression that these are bad situations. There are purposes for these tax captures, and I have a perfect example. The Howell District Library has a Downtown Development Authority, which is a different type of tax capture. The library is located in that district. A little bit of their money is captured from their library millage, but then that money was used to repair all the sidewalks and replace all of the lighting, which included the lighting in the sidewalks in front of the library. So there are reasons why you might want to collaborate and pool your funds in order to do a bigger project. So it's not that this is necessarily bad. My only reason for bringing this up is that we're in a situation where there are people that object to it and they don't understand the situation at hand. So it has value. The whole purpose is to try and kind of raise the property values along Sashabaw Road.
Right, which ultimately helps
Absolutely.
others in the township as well.
Absolutely.
It's just a question of, for me, the main thing is to try to find a way, if we have to put the language in, we have to put the language in, but let's try to do it as clearly
And
as we can.
Yep.
Simply.
To
Smallest amount of
eliminate as
words,
much
everything.
confusion as we can, and then just hope that in the process of educating people about the millage, that
And that was the difficulty last time, because this
Yes.
is a very long
Yes.
ballot proposal.
at the end of a very long ballot.
Well, it was at the end of a very long
So
ballot.
it's a shorter
proposals
ballot
or
this
something.
time around. In August, it will be the gubernatorial primary, and then there will also be, there are actually two police millages. There's a main millage and then there was a small increase at one point. Both of those are up for renewal, and they will be on the ballot. It is my understanding that they will just both be renewals. I do not believe there will
No
be an
increase.
increase. Yeah, I don't think that there's supposed to be an increase, but, so obviously we'll be on the ballot with something that is an increase, but that's, to my understanding, that's all that's on the ballot this time around, unless the state were to add something or something else were to come up. So.
Are we going to be able to talk with the lawyer?
Oh, absolutely. I'm sorry. I should wrap this up and explain. What the attorney wanted you to do tonight was to discuss it, highlight the things that are problematic to you, things that are in question, so that she can start to work on it. And then if you would like, we can either schedule her to be here physically for your meeting in March, or we could probably Skype her in order to save the money. She is located on the other side of the state, so it is quite a long ways to bring her in, although this is very important. So it would be up to the board. I think it would be valuable to budget for that. If you would like her here in person, she would be happy to do that. But she wanted you to have an initial discussion so that when she is here, you can really dig in. Maybe you can in your own minds, make some of the decisions. How do you feel about 8 years versus 10? And are there other pieces of this that you're concerned about? Or are we really just concerned about how to word the tax capture?
And you just want us to think about that and then email you our thoughts or ideas?
Absolutely, or if you have anything you want me to write down right now, and let me know how you feel about bringing her in. Would you like her to be here personally at your meeting in March, or conference call?
Well, I
or what
sure
you
would.
be? Okay,
I can say that right now.
it would be my recommendation to have her here, but,
I agree with that. I think that it's better in person than Skyping.
Better to hash this out.
Yeah, I mean, because this is,
But we want to let her know ahead of time what particular,
right, so she can have done any
She can already
research
have done some
if we have
work on it.
specific
Yep.
questions. But I think that to have her here, because this is like the most critical thing
it is
we've got
critical.
going.
Right.
It was funny, she called me about a month ago and she said, "Now I'm just calling you to let you know you have a critical ballot proposal on the, is she on the ballot this year?" And I said, "Really?" not quite right. Yeah, I'm fully aware, thanks. Okay, so I will plan to have her here at your March meeting. And the last time we were working on ballot language, that's sort of the way it went. We had her sitting here and she was able to rewrite and you were able to approve it that night because she was able to rewrite it as you go. And I think that we want to make sure that it's done, it's due in May. But I think we want to get it done in March and get it submitted early to make sure that we can go over it with the county and make sure there are no questions.
Right.
And that it's all on there, so.
And of course, the years 2012, 2019 will no longer be accurate.
14 to 21.
Now, the difference is, the interesting thing is I believe that if the millage, years, because it didn't pass in 2012 and now it will be 2014, if we leave it at 8 years, one of the discussions was if we left it at 8 years, that tax capture would still be attached when we renewed. But I believe now that would be different. I believe when we renew, if it's 8 years, the next time,
It could be on.
that tax capture could have expired at that point, and we would be renewing a millage without all this additional discussion, so. But I will sit down with Ann and we will double check that.
Yeah, because we were upset about the district levying such new additional millage that some people
Yeah.
were going to feel that this was on top of
Right.
Right.
the
Right.
.69 instead of replacing.
Replacement, right.
And
Right.
that's, I think that's one of the biggest
That
parts.
word
Yeah.
additional as opposed to the
Replacement.
word
Yeah,
replacement, but I
That
think there
concerns
was,
me a lot.
there was a legal reason we had to use additional.
I think that's the legal wording, but Ann can answer that question.
Yes, 'cause
Why
if it
can't
could
we
say
just
right in
say,
here it was a replacement? that would
replace the point?
That's what we
06
wanted to
with
say,
the
but
125?
we were not allowed to say that.
Because as far as the law is concerned, it is a new millage.
Because
The other
without
though
the
the old
information
millage
that the
goes
old
away.
millage goes away,
Yeah,
and that's,
the laws are not.
I would like to say, I don't mind the word new millage.
Right.
I mind the word additional.
Yes, yes. me
Maybe
too.
the first sentence could read on December 31st, whatever, our current millage will go away.
Or something.
Then the question, shall the township library replace this millage with?
With a new additional millage?
Yeah?
With a new,
Well, if
or a
we
new
have-
millage of?
Yes, I mean, they can do the math, most of them. I'm sorry.
And I had a question,
I'm not good at
do
math.
we have to estimate the revenue that
Yes.
it will collect? Okay.
That's one of the requirements. Where you've got some options, well, maybe I should just read it
Oh,
out loud.
let's go to the option
Yeah,
page.
well, let me read it out loud first for the sake of those that are listening from home. Shall the Clarkston Independence District Library, County of Oakland, Michigan, levy an amount not to exceed 1.25 mils, $1.25 on each $1,000 of taxable value against all taxable real and tangible property, personal property within the Clarkston Independence District Library District for a period of 8 years, 2012 to 2019, inclusive, for the purpose of providing funds for all district library purposes authorized by law, and shall the district library levy such new additional millage for said purpose. The estimate of the revenue the Clarkston Independence District Library will collect if the millage is approved and levied by the district library in the 2012 calendar year is approximately $1,710,000. It is estimated that 99.4% of the annual millage revenue will be dispersed to the Clarkston Independence District Library for all district library purposes authorized by law, and as required by law, 0.6% would be dispersed to the Charter Township of Independence Sashabaw Road Corridor Improvement Authority. The amount dispersed to the Sashabaw Road Corridor Improvement Authority shall be collected solely from the properties within the Sashabaw Road Corridor Improvement Authority District. Now, all of that, that whole thing with the Corridor Improvement Authority District, we can discuss that further on the next page.
Julie, would there be a way to take that 1.7 million figure,
I'm sorry, the what one?
the 1.7 million?
The 1,710,000?
The one, yeah, that's what I mean.
You said
1 million,
1.7.
1.7. Or so much per capita. $50 per capita or something.
I think that this is the way it has to be. I think it requires an estimate of how much will be collected in the first year. I
I
think
think
But
that
could
the
we
other
put
piece
both-
of that is part of the education process
Yeah.
again, it's just reminding them how little that is if you look at.
Yep.
Well,
the
that's what I
value
was
of your home.
trying.
Right.
Well, or the surrounding libraries.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
like if they knew that that would bring us up to maybe $50 per capita, whereas Lake Orion has 65 or something
Yeah.
like that, you know.
Um,
Springfield has 53.
I know.
So, I mean,
That's
part of our
I'm just,
education,
if
though.
that could be,
Yeah.
yes, I know, but didn't.
So these options on the back were various ways we could word the capture,
Yes. So that last little part, that would be from,
which is half of our,
it is half. Well, and I'll be honest, a part of this text we took from 2010. The Township Board wrote it very specifically for us in 2010 to make sure that people understood that it's such a small amount.
so really it's almost half of the ballot language.
It is, indeed.
The word portion as opposed to the actual amounts actually makes it, I would think it would make it sound like there's even more than the 0.6%
Absolutely.
being taken out.
You gotta say
Portion
it.
just sounds like,
I think we need
Scoop
that,
in.
that little number in there.
Well, one of the pieces that was added that is not required is the last sentence. The amount dispersed to Sashbaugh Road Corridor Improvement Authority shall be collected solely from the properties within the Sashbaugh Road Corridor Improvement Authority District. That was something that was added, that was not required.
I see, but I think that's a piece
But that was a,
we-
but that was a piece
important,
that was, yep.
that
Will,
was-
will that,
Those
will
600 and
this
whatever.
language be in the police millage too?
It is supposed to be there.
Okay.
It is supposed to be. It would be up to the township board how they
Have
word
not
it.
seen
Yeah, because they could just say
We
just a
have
few
seen it.
words like these
Mhm.
examples,
I
so
don't
they
remember
could.
seeing it in
Absolutely.
the fire millage last time. That's- yeah.
Is there any way we could find out?
Do
In
you want
May.
you want the language from the,
Well, if the police and
Yeah.
the fire don't have to use it,
For
or are not.
consistency?
Yeah.
but by law, it's supposed to be there, so I would assume that they did put it in.
I don't think you're saying that they wouldn't put it in, I think you're looking for the wording.
Oh, you want to know
Which is
how it was?
How they word
If they
it.
Oh,
worded it
absolutely.
differently in a way that might.
Yeah,
Yeah, so we
Yeah.
could be consistent,
Got it.
because if they say it, we say it, everybody says it the
If
same way.
everybody says it the
Everybody
same
I
way,
would-
if they
same
say
way,
it,
it's-
yeah.
I would
Yeah.
think,
Good idea.
I can't speak specifically, but I would think it would be similar to this,
Mhm.
because this was crafted by the township
Township.
board that also
Mhm.
voted to make us a district library, so I would think that they were using, but I will get it and find out. That's an excellent question.
So these 5 options are other possibilities of ways to state that,
Yes.
that does not take quite so much room.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, this is what is actually required, and this should give you a clearer picture of how little is required in comparison to what we put in, trying to make sure people understood it.
Yeah, you might be overthinking it at that point if you put too much in, though.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, I
This
kind
was
of
so, I was concerned because this millage, this proposal
that was the other
was,
thing.
we were trying to be clear, but it
Yeah.
was so long.
Right.
At the very
And
end of the line.
I don't know that it clarified it as much as it might have muddied the waters. But the other thing is that in some of these, it says will be or shall be, and at the very end, it says maybe. Is
On
there,
option 5.
from my years
Yeah.
as a union negotiator, I am very well aware of the difference between the words shall and may.
May.
Interesting, a portion of
Maybe.
the revenue
That's-
collected.
That gives us an option. It might happen,
Right, yeah, might not
happen.
happen, but, you know.
Where's it saying
Where's
this?
it
Option
saying?
5.
Option
Five.
five. We were looking on the other
At the
one.
very, yeah, of the options that Ann gave us, the very, very last one, maybe
Says it
subject.
may be
That's
subject.
interesting. Yeah, I'll ask her about that.
No. I mean, that's,
That's a little bit more user-friendly, is what it says may.
But it may not
but
be
it's
quite
not real-
true.
It's not
Right.
real clear, it's not
Yeah.
actually right.
Mm-hmm.
A real clear fact that I think everyone deserves to know.
I mean, hopefully when, you know.
But I do like the fact that these are shorter.
Yes, and I do think, sometimes I think that you're giving information that you think is clarifying it, but I
It's
don't know that
confusing.
it might be confusing. And again, maybe you keep the language as clean as possible and do your educating
Yep.
as part of the campaigning and election process.
Absolutely.
And
And I agree, I think that last sentence is probably important for people to see about it only being collected from the properties on Sashabaw Road for the clarification, because there's only one set of ballot language, which means the city residents are going to see it too. And I wouldn't want them to think that it has anything to do with them, because it doesn't.
Right. So,
Well,
So I like 1, 2, and 4 with whatever we wanted to add.
Yeah, I like 4. I'd like to use the 0.06%.
Yeah, in there.
Instead of the word portion.
Mm-hmm, because a portion could.
So even if they will receive a portion, parentheses,
0.6%.
percent,
By
yeah,
law.
or some, you know,
By law. Yeah.
And maybe you could say, of the revenue collected is subject to capture instead of will be, because it just always has been. I mean, this
Right,
isn't
but-
anything new.
Right, and you're trying to, you know, but
It's just what it is.
however you say it, and I like where it said it in number 1, I liked it, you know, a portion of the millage collected from those properties. I mean, that's kind of clear
Yeah.
to me that it's not a portion of my millage, it's a portion of the millage
Yeah,
paid by those taxpayers in that
yeah.
corridor, so.
Maybe you could use the word receives instead of will receive, because that's
That's
more
what
like-
I think,
It's
instead
just
of.
common, this has been going on now for several
That's-
years, so
Yeah.
they automatically receive.
So it sounds like we're leaning toward option 1,
One.
is that what I'm hearing? Okay. Option 1, and.
But changing
we're-
the
Instead of
word
will
to
receive.
portion, and we can put the amount in there.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we're asking about will receive.
It receives
And
maybe instead of will
receives.
receive.
Receives a portion and then in parentheses,
Okay,
The amount.
The amount.
0.6%.
okay.
Collected from the sash above?
And you said get rid of will receive to receives.
Yeah.
Mhm.
right.
Because it is.
It's
Yeah.
been going on, it's ongoing.
continuing.
This isn't anything new that's going to happen now.
It's a better way to do it.
We were surprised in November that we were so focused on making sure people understood the reestablishment and why the millage was on the ballot and that it was a replacement millage, that we didn't spend as much time educating people about the corridor improvement authority. And afterwards, I got a lot of phone calls about CIA because we hadn't really spent a lot of time educating people and reminding people. We thought since it had just renewed in 2010 that people would remember all of that, but I think it was so complicated, and especially with it being a presidential election, I think everyone had hit information overload. I know I did personally as a voter, and I think we did not do our due diligence in educating the public and reminding them about this corridor improvement authority being a long-term situation and not just a short-term thing.
But one that has really very little impact
Mhm.
on the average taxpayer.
Yeah.
I have a lot of confidence in our community that they truly do want to have a library. And there was just so many things working against our proposal being at the end.
We
and
still
the slogan that
almost
had come
passed
out.
it.
Right.
Whatever it was, yes on the first and then no on the rest that had,
Yeah.
had come out. And
with
us
not-
being right at the end of it, I think that didn't help.
Yeah, I just think that was like a perfect storm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm. And I think even people
It
that
felt like a
voted
perfect storm.
against it were surprised that later that had happened.
Yes. So if we go back to option 1, after that whole CIA, all the title, Sasheville Road Corridor Authority District Properties only?
yes, I agree.
Okay.
We
So
need
Sasheville Road corridor
businesses or properties or
Something
something.
like that. I don't know what the word would be, but,
I think properties might be the best.
I think so. We want in the very, very last sentence of option 1, we want properties between district and only.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, got it.
Business properties or properties? Because
Actually-
Well,
business properties.
I think it needs to say properties because I don't know if there are any residential in there. I don't believe there are. Are there a
Oh, so it's
couple?
There's still a
Properties.
couple in there, I think.
There are very, very few.
So
It
do
is
they have to
primarily-
pay it also?
we could put a little.
Okay, so it's properties, it doesn't
It's
matter what
properties.
kind of
Oh,
property.
okay, I thought it was
Okay.
just business, I misunderstood. Okay.
It's our job just to make sure that people know this ahead of time, and so when they go to vote.
That's what a library does, educate, right?
Exactly.
So as Dan pointed out, it would be a very good idea to have her here.
That was going to be my recommendation, but I wanted to make sure everybody was comfortable with the expense of bringing her in.
Definitely.
I think it's
I
worth
think
it.
it would be worth it,
I
yes.
think it's worth it. I think you'll find that she's very thorough. And as I said, she can rewrite as we go. So she can answer these questions. She can tell you, nope, that's required, and no, that's not. So,
What immediately.
and that's way over my legal capability. So.
Okay, so what we're asking you then is to contact
Ann, and schedule her for the March 24th meeting. I'm supposed to specifically ask her about the word additional, millage, about the possibility of mentioning at the December 31st, the current millage will expire. I'm supposed to ask her about option 5, May. That seems a little out of sync. That we would like to have the fire language from 2012. I don't know, the police millage will be on
This
this
ballot.
time, so they haven't written it
They
yet.
haven't written it yet.
So I won't, unless you want to see the 2010 police language. I can do that. I can
Yeah.
Okay, I'll bring you the 2010 police language. That I actually have. And the
12 fire millage
2012
language.
fire language. Okay, got it.
And we were going to ask her about replacement instead of additional. That was another thing that we were going to.
We asked that. That was pretty clear
That's-
last
yeah,
time,
additional.
that we had to
I'm
say
sorry,
additional. We
replacement.
were very unhappy with that because we did not think it was clear, but it was the legally required language, that we had this additional.
Yeah.
But could we say something like new additional millage replacing the previous millage?
Those are all things that I'd ask her while she's here.
Okay, I didn't know if I'd ask her in advance.
Oh, yeah, I
Yeah.
put, is there some way to describe it as a replacement instead of additional millage? I'm asking her what the options are there, so she'll come prepared to answer those questions, but in terms of actually answering the question, she'll go over that with you that night, so.
Great.
So it should be a good grammar lesson on the 20th.
Yes. Bring your pens.
And then the last piece, I wrote that we are leaning toward option 1, will receive, could it be receives, and the Sashwell Road Corridor Improvement Authority District properties, only adding
Yeah.
that word if there's any, if that's any objection to adding that, so.
And did you also put in there the 0.6%? You're also going to throw that in there
In the
too?
parentheses
After
somewhere.
millage.
Oh,
A
thank
portion,
Portion
A
of the
portion.
millage collected,
Portion.
Yeah,
after portion,
0.6%.
Wherever it fits.
whether it goes right after
Yeah.
portion or wherever she thinks it should go.
Right.
0.6%. And actually, we'll, I'll be honest, we'll need to rework that math, and the likelihood is it's probably less than that now.
Great.
So that's what happened between 2010 and 2012, is that it went from being I think it was 0.9 down to 0.6, so it may have gone down yet again. So. Okay, I have that on there as well. Anything
Oh,
else?
so the portion collected is shrinking.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, because it has to do with the values, the change in values of those properties as compared to the change in values
Oh.
in the properties township-wide.
Yep. And it also was, it was capped in 2006. When they created this, in 2006, they set the property values for this particular TIFA, for all of those properties. And then as those property values increase, the tax capture is 50% of the increase. If they're not increasing, or they're staying flat, or they're dropping, then that's how it's happened so far, is that they set it in 2006, and then the number dropped.
And then in 2008,
Yep.
things.
So if you were to look at our numbers back in, say, 2006 or 2007, the capture was capturing about $12,000,
Yes.
and now we're down to about $5,000. So the amount that's being captured is shrinking. Okay.
Okay. Are there any other
Discussion.
questions? We can peruse this. If you come up with anything else that you have a question about, I would just email Julie. So that
Absolutely.
she can
And I can send it on to Ann.
send it
She'll
on
put
to
it on
Ann.
her list and come prepared that night to tackle that.
All right.
Very good.
At this time, then,
I'll make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
it's been moved and seconded that we adjourn. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion carries. We are adjourning at 6:57.